Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be in conversation and in relationship with other people as a more whole version of yourself? Well, you're not alone. And if this idea piques your interest and curiosity, I invite you to join my friend Manak Singh and myself, Dr. Node Smith, as we explore some of life's most challenging and interesting questions and social dilemmas in a conversation that is more about how we are relating to each other and to ourselves, and less about the information that we're presenting. So, welcome to the relational field.
I would like to discuss a topic that I've discussed with you before, but
Mm-hmm.
never on camera, never in a circle.
Yeah.
And that is the topic of unconditional love.
Mm.
When I even hear
Mm.
unconditional love, I have this like split reaction to it.
Oh.
There's like a part of me that's like that is like, oh, that is such a like a beautiful concept.
Mm.
Very spiritual for me,
Mm-hmm.
for this part of me. And then there's this other part of me that is like, get the fuck out, you know?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's like it's almost aggressive towards it.
Ooh.
It's
I'm so curious about that.
the
What's the texture of the getting out?
texture. The texture is like it's the feeling when you get approached by somebody and you realize that they're a charlatan.
Oh, when you say that, what I hear is questioning the validity, like not being able to trust
Yeah.
that. The story that I have is not being able to trust that your version of unconditional love is the same as mine. That we're not, that we might be using the same language but meaning totally different things. Is that
No, it's actually different.
okay?
It's the this part that is just wants to push it away and is very resistant to this idea. It's to the whole idea itself. Like the whole idea is some kind of a construct that
Oh,
looks pretty, but all it causes is destruction
oh,
and
okay.
disappointment. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it's like I'm being sold something
Oh,
that is not a benefit to me, but is a benefit to whoever is selling it to me.
okay. Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, it's almost like the practical application of this thing that seems really, really, really good is really, really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to unpack that.
Mm-hmm.
That's like AI. This thing that seems really, really cool could be really, really bad.
And now I'm becoming very conscious of the fact that I don't actually know what your how you orient to
Mm,
unconditional love. And I would like to know that.
okay. Um, when I hear the term unconditional love, uh, the first thing that pops into my brain is Jesus as an archetypal figure, uh, like as a representation of like what that would mean or what that would be at its ultimate sense. Uh, the idea of sacrificing my entire life and being in order to, like, as a loving expression for humanity, knowing full well that humanity hates me,
Mm.
that my love has no condition, that anything that you could possibly do to me would not change my love for you. And I I think it's for me, it's important to kind of orient and frame a relationship with that kind of ultimate example. Uh, and I think that there's other really good examples. I think Nelson Mandela in like a more practical modern sense exemplifies unconditional love in a really human, relatable way. And when I think about these examples of unconditional love, it gives me a sense of hope. It gives me a sense in it, like right now, I feel this kind of softening and relaxing into myself. Almost like this is true. Like right now, I could love myself in this moment unconditionally.
I'm having
Yeah.
impact here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear your
Yeah.
impact.
During the first 3 quarters of what you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like this resistant part was like getting more and more and more. Just it was just expanding in me. I'm like, I'm ready to fight this right now.
Oh,
The thoughts that were coming up in my mind when you were like, oh, Jesus and Nelson Mandela
yeah.
are like the archetypal examples. The thoughts coming up is, yeah, well, look what happened to them.
Yeah.
Like look what it got them.
Yeah.
That's what's coming up, and then you shifted into. And then you shifted into, I felt like you were just like pulling at like two different parts. And then you shifted into, well, I can unconditionally love myself.
Mm.
And then that other part that is for unconditional love.
Mm.
And the greatest example of that is for that part is knowing that this decision can be made.
Mm.
So I just felt like you were pulling both strings there.
Oh, interesting.
I would like to channel the part that is resistant for now.
Oh yeah.
Because there's some tension there.
I'm very interested in the conflict that you brought up, that you're sensing.
I would like to know, like, look where it landed Jesus. He just gets slayed on the cross.
So,
like, I would like to know, like, when I hear this, I'm hearing if I'm to unconditionally love people,
mm-hmm.
I'm just sort of like a doormat, or like just somebody who's just going to be used for someone else's purposes, and they can do whatever they want with me, and I am for some reason unconditionally loving them.
Oh, interesting. That's so curious that you say that, because if I were to respond with like how I orient to that, I would orient to it as absolute power. That my ability to unconditionally love gives me absolute power. And what I mean by that is not a force, not a trying or striving or having to manipulate or force something, but a power that simply permeates everything, and allows, like almost like allows creation and life to manifest out of it.
There's a feeling of power.
It's like an embodiment of power.
It's an embodiment of power.
Yeah.
Does this power help me go to war?
I mean, I would say that this power transmutes war, that it makes war irrelevant. That if my unconditional love for you makes war not it's not that it's not an option. It's just that it's not a thought.
It may not be the thought for you, but it is a thought for the enemy.
It could be, yeah. But what's an enemy from the stance of unconditional love?
From the stance of unconditional love, there is no enemy.
There is no enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the behavioral level,
Yep.
if I'm at your border, if I'm at your doorstep and I want to kill you,
Yeah.
you will lay down your arms because you unconditionally love me.
Well, so this is an interesting. What's coming up for me right now are kind of like does unconditional love mean that the same behavior is given to every person that I encounter?
No, is what comes up.
Yeah. And we're in territory now that I'm kind of like allowing what is arising from what's coming up to kind of percolate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I acknowledge the messiness of all of this.
Mm-hmm. On my side, I have this like energy where I just want to push you.
Yeah,
Like
you push away.
That's the kind of energy that I'm having, and
I love that.
I'm also like in the background. I'm also smiling about that because I know that this is what we want. Like we want to explore a topic that there's some friction on.
Yeah. So push away. I'm open to it.
So I don't know how that answered my concern about unconditional love.
Yeah.
Where even if I understand that if you have unconditional love in your heart for
Mhm.
everybody and no one is an enemy for you,
Yeah.
that's well and good for your, I guess, internal life. But in terms of, if you're responsible for other people,
Mhm.
maybe a wife and kids, and an enemy's at your doorstep, like you're gonna, and I want to kill everybody. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna have to stop that. Or, and I don't see how unconditional love here is benefiting you.
So yeah, so the here's the question. And one, the way that I'm kind of what's coming up for me is unconditional love. Like unconditional as a kind of, what does that even mean? Like what conditions are already in my life and in my understanding of reality that inherently make my ability to have unconditional love impossible. And what I mean by that is this idea that I am responsible for other people in my life is a condition. It's a rule. Right? If I'm obligated and responsible for these other people, what is that? How does that change the conditions to which I'm allowed to love or show love in my life?
I feel a bit thrown back by that because when I think of responsibility, I see that as an expression of love. And I'm like having a hard time like seeing responsibility as a condition on love.
I think maybe obligation is a better word, and that's what I meant.
Okay. I'm also so let me summarize to see if I understand. You're saying that if you have obligations, then towards people, then you're no longer unconditionally loving.
Well, it's a question.
Okay.
Right. It's just it's like if we're gonna honestly, interact with an absolute principle, this idea of unconditionality, this idea of absolute unconditional love, then what comes up for me is the importance of understanding where I inherently have conditions and rules in my life that kind of interpret what that unconditional love even means.
Okay. So what you're saying is that you're trying to get a sense of when does it stop being unconditional?
Yeah, right. So like this idea of um well, I mean, like this idea that unconditional love is an action, that it has like behaviors that are in alignment with unconditional love or not in alignment with unconditional love. Like that's an interesting idea,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, oh, to um to kill someone, is that unconditional love or not? Could it ever be? I don't know. I think the question is far more important to be kind of living into than having a definitive answer for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel you there.
I have a beautiful example.
Oh, please do share.
So I have a dear friend, I won't name any names. I have a dear friend who um, I have a very loving relationship with. Um, and this is an elderly friend, and they had an experience recently where uh, they they thought that they were going to die, that they were going to um, make the transition over into the next phase of being, and they were really comfortable with it, and also welcoming of it. And this was an immense conflict with what friends and family wanted for this person. Uh, this my dear friend really wanted to be left alone and allow this process to happen. And family and friends wanted desperately to get this person to a hospital and get this figured out, and eventually that did happen. And I found myself advocating for them, for this person being taken to the hospital and their wishes not being advocated. And I noticed in myself, even at the time, that this was a selfish thing, that I truly wanted this person to stay here in physical form because I wanted it,
Mm-hmm.
not because I had any, appreciation in that moment of wanting to allow this person's own sense of a life's timeline to manifest.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, talking to this friend, and hearing their account of it and hearing kind of their personal experience of this afterwards touched me deeply. And I felt a sense of almost guilt, as actually guilt for not honoring this person's like deep desire for this transition. And so essentially, I felt like the most loving thing to do in this case would have been to allow this person to make that transition. And that just like feels in my body like it would have been the more truthful expression of unconditional love. Yeah. So I think that this is it's not cut and dry. It's not cut and dry.
What I hear from that story, which is a fascinating story that I did not know, is that one can never make a judgment if something is unconditional love at the level of behavior only.
Yeah.
Like in some cases, maybe to kill is not unconditional love, and maybe in some cases it is. Like we don't know. Right? So you're saying if we just look at behavior, we can't just categorize this as unconditional love and this is not unconditional love.
That sits pretty well. Like, yeah, I like that.
So then what's underneath the behavior?
Well, I think that underneath the behavior is when I hear you ask that, I hear like my heart and my being and like who I am. In like not a oh, this is my truth as an individual, but this is like my higher self as a connected being to all other sentient beings and life forms. And we're part of this cosmic dance that we don't understand. And that there is, or that there does seem to be, like even thinking about it in this space, I notice this kind of softening and sinking in my eyes, tearing up. Like there seems to be this karmic wheel that we're on. And we're all trying to figure it out. And unconditional love seems to be something that we're trying to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And so is I mean, what's coming up for me is this question of, is part of the passage of is part of the initiation into unconditional love sacrifice? And that's a question. That's not like I'm just musing about it. I'm not married to that idea.
Mm-hmm. That's a very interesting question. And I can feel a part of me that is very spiritual, wanting to just come out there and agree with you, and anyone say more, and you know, add more color to what you just said. But I'm gonna stick with this resistant part here, because when I hear you say that,
yeah,
it feels like unconditional love is a topic or a phenomena, or a state of being, whatever it is, best relegated to spiritual circles, like best relegated to like, if you want to focus on what's beautiful about ultimate reality, you know, that's what it's for. It's not for daily practical living. It's not for when there's a recession, or when there's, you know, when people are just in conflict. You know, it's not for when the toilet paper is running out because of COVID or whatever. You know, like it's like it doesn't apply to those hostile type situations. It almost feels like it almost feels like if my I know I'm just jumping from one example to the other because that's how I feel inside.
I love that. I love this. I think, yeah, I resonate with what you're saying.
Right.
And there's a part of me too that wants to agree with you. And yet there's also another part of me that says, well, my everyday life and every interaction that I have is deeply interwoven and informed by my spiritual connection. And so the deeper I'm able to understand that spiritual connection, the the more real that becomes in my life, in other, I guess, kind of quote non-spiritual domains of life. And then when I say that, I say life seems to become a lot easier.
How so?
Well, I think it had. How so? I want to answer this.
Ooh, let me.
Yeah.
I feel the need to like take a guess first
Oh,
before you answer.
okay.
Um,
I like that. That feels good.
I'm glad you feel that way. Is it that when you embody this state, um, all the kinds of situations that I'm describing, where you might face hostility with somebody, they just don't happen in your life, or at least not as frequently?
Oh man, you actually do bring up a really good point that I've mused and been so curious about for a long time. Probably, I mean, pretty much my entire adult life is I don't seem to be in conflict with other people, like hardly at all. And typical interactions that other people talk about will just not be relevant. I just won't have them in my life. Um, I'll give you an example. I had this interesting experience happen today, um, where I somebody hit my car in a parking lot while I was in the store, and you know the kind of car I drive, so that alone I wasn't really too worried about it. And they left a note on my windshield, and I saw the note, and I thought, how cool that this person connected with me to like leave a note, and that they felt, that they felt that that was a good idea. Like I respected that. And then I thought, oh, how cool is it to be going to be to reach out to this person and tell them that I'm not worried about it. And maybe even be able to like connect with this person out of this, little snafu that happened. And that's kind of how I orient to a lot of social situations in my life.
Mm-hmm.
With this kind of wanting goodness to be there. So yeah, and I don't know. I think that comes out of really being interested in developing a sense of what is unconditional love like, even though I know that it's not possible.
I'm very curious. So when you say that conflict is not something you run into much,
I shouldn't say that.
okay,
That's not true.
okay,
I misspoke when I
okay,
said that. Yeah, like I have conflict in my personal life, like my relationship and my marriage, like oh my gosh. And I have internal conflicts a lot with things that I want
mm-hmm.
that don't happen, and a lot of stress and anxiety around that. And like what like conflict with other people kind of like out in the world, like when things happen, and I just don't have this same viewpoint that people are out to get me.
Mm-hmm.
Like people want to harm me, or that the government is um intentionally doing things to make my life bad. I think they are. but I don't think that it's a malicious intended singling out of Node Smith,
I see.
right?
Right.
Like I just don't think humanity knows what it's doing at all,
Right.
and it's causing a lot of problems. And it seems to me that unconditional love is likely a bigger part of any solution that we would be able to find than logically trying to manage our problems.
I see.
Yeah. There was a lot there. That was not very linear.
I felt myself agreeing to that.
Mm.
Especially the part where it is a solution to a lot of the conflicts out there. But there's sense that it's all talk. Like it looks pretty. Like when you say it, it makes me feel good, right? But it's when you get down to the details of it. Like when you say, okay, how does unconditional love help me in this situation, in this situation, in this situation?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it. It's almost as if it exists in this ultimate reality space where all is one.
Mm-hmm.
It does not exist in this physical, egoistical, egocentric, or whatever the word is, in the world of the ego. It, especially in situations where your best interest and my best interest do not line up.
There's a lot there. The curious thing is I would never argue that what you're saying is not true. Like it has a logical relevance. And my question is, what happens when unconditional love becomes a value that the ego supports?
The ego, I love that. I love that question. The ego will be right behind it.
It'd be right behind
It'd be
it.
right behind it.
So I don't quite follow you when you say like right behind it, like where right behind it? Like how so?
In the sense of if the ego thinks that unconditional love is for it, it's for its benefit, for its survival especially,
Yeah.
then it's like it'll just hand over the keys to it.
Okay.
That's my feeling.
Yeah, and then what happens? What happens if that? What happens in that scenario?
The ego can just sit back and let unconditional be a foundational principle in the way you live.
Like, and if we try that on, how does that affect how you and I are relating right now?
It would enhance the moment greatly.
And I'm curious, what would happen? What would happen if if we had different needs in the moment?
If we were both unconditionally loving,
Yeah.
and we have different needs in the moment,
Yeah.
then we'll just go our separate ways. If we can't resolve it for some reason, I'm thinking of like incompatible needs.
Incompatible needs. Oh yeah, incompatible needs. Yeah.
We'll either change our relationship, so like maybe we won't be close friends, but we'll be like friends, like like in relation to certain contexts. So either the kind of the relationship status changes, or if we're so incompatible that we can't even be around each other, then we'll just go our separate ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sense that there wouldn't be a loss in that. Like it would be mutually supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be like I would like the best for you, and I also like the best for myself, and we know, and I realize that what's the best for both of us is not to be together.
Yeah, it's interesting when you bring that up, my brain goes to like, okay, so unconditional love is the extension of love both to you as well as to myself simultaneously,
Mm-hmm.
because there's not a condition, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not a one-way valve for love to
Mm-hmm.
manifest in the world. And that's interesting. Huh.
I would like to clarify that, or just give more context here, that if everyone is unconditionally loving, if that's the principle they're operating from, then I have no concerns.
Mm.
It's when I know that not everyone, like it's like I feel like the loser who decides to unconditionally love, whereas
Mm.
everyone else is out for themselves.
That's so curious. When I try that on, what I come back to is power. Is if I am living and operating in unconditional love, am I accessing a power that does something, that has some type of transformative quality to it that I don't really understand, and makes losing impossible?
I like the feel of it, and when I get this image of like Jesus just having this shield around them, and like just like nothing enters that shield.
Yeah.
Nothing unwanted, at least, enters that shield.
Yeah, it's really curious. When I try that on, I have a lot of resistance to that image. Like it's almost like I want to have an image that includes like Jesus, like like interwoven with like the fabric of reality, that like it almost like the essence of unconditional love is being breathed in by anyone who is around it. And it's so intoxicating that it it transmutes anything that's not resonant with it.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever felt this power?
I
Or
no,
at least have you ever like glimpsed it, even if momentarily?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Um, yeah, I think I don't feel it super strongly like right now, but in moments like I can feel like the remnants of it. Like in in times where I'm allowed to be free and to allow this moment to really like overtake me, almost like I'm bathing in the experience of this moment. There's a softening, and a a softening that feels so strong, so like substantive. And there's a just this feeling of light, like not lightness. It's almost like a heaviness and a groundedness, but there's a light, like a white light inside of me. It just feels like home. And it's like it comes inside of me, but it also extends out from me.
Mm-hmm.
and has this genuine curiosity and aliveness. Yeah, so like maybe, I mean it's fleeting. It like comes and goes. But yeah,
Do you feel it when um when things get tough, especially like in terms of conflict?
no, definitely not.
Okay.
No, that's like the least time I see it.
It
No, that's when I resonate with the like let's just fight and sort out the dead later.
what you describe feels profound. However, this is something I've shared with you. It's a private obsession of mine to to make the spiritual practical, and
Mm.
and this tension that I have in between the different parts of me, I'm sort of just like just putting it out here.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say that you feel these things momentarily, especially when you're free, when you feel free, I don't want to trivialize that, but what comes up for me is, you know how when you're in a tough relationship and it feels great when she's away, like it feels a bit like that. Yeah, like when she's away or I'm away, like I feel good about this relationship. And then when you're together, you're like, oh fuck. It feels a bit like that.
Yeah.
It still feels like it's this unconditional love just belongs to this different domain, and it doesn't quite help me or serve me actually
Mm.
in a more conflict ridden domain.
But that, I would say that, yeah, what comes up for me is that like we all have a path. Like, and we all have kind of pillars and milestones and principles that we use to help us to understand that path. And unconditional love is one of those pillars. And even if I never am able to fully realize it in my life, the search for it, the learning involved in even trying to manifest that in myself is worthwhile, is illuminating, healing in a practical sense. Um, and it informs so much of how I relate to myself as well. And so not just healing kind of relationships, but my relationship with myself. Like what's it like to unconditionally accept myself and love that I am a human and I am like falling short of my greatest aspirations. Like what's that unconditionality like?
When you said that, what's it like to accept myself unconditionally? I felt like I just softened.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that is something that I have personally felt as well very recently.
Mm.
And as impractical as unconditional love seems to me, it seems very practical to unconditionally love myself. It seems very reachable.
Mm.
It seems for me personally, it just seems like it's just a few steps away.
It's curious when you say that. When I orient to that, I like almost automatically have this sense that I Oh, our timer's going off.
Mm-hmm.
That if I unconditionally love myself, and in the moments that I have that type of love and kindness and compassion for myself, I almost without exception want to extend that outward. Like that's how I also want to interact with others.
I love that. And I can see that being the logical next step.
Mm.
Once you can unconditionally love yourself, how do you extend that to your whatever, your close friends or family or whoever? And I can see that. It feels very reachable to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm.